All right, class, welcome. So let me ask you a question. When you walk down an aisle and you pick one product over another, what's really going on in your head? Is it the logo, the price, or is it something deeper? Today, we are diving headfirst into the world of branding. We're going to unpack the art and the science of creating that powerful, lasting connection with people. We'll look at how brands are built from the ground up, how we measure their value, and how they ultimately become the very soul of a company.
Now, to kick things off, look at this quote. It's from the former CEO of Quaker Oats, and it absolutely hits the nail on the head. He's saying, you can have all the factories, all the trucks, all the buildings. I'll just take the names and the logos. Why? Because he knew that the real value, the trust, the loyalty, the recognition that a brand holds in our minds, is worth far more than all the physical stuff combined. And that has never been more true than it is today. A great brand is the ultimate advantage.
So, here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to get on the same page and define what a brand actually is. Then, we'll get into brand equity, which is how we measure a brand's power. After that, we'll tackle a really crucial concept, the difference between a brand's identity and its image. Then comes the fun part, the blueprint for how you actually build one. And finally, we'll zoom out to see how big companies manage a whole family of brands. Ready? Let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first. Just like building a house, you have to start with a solid foundation. And for us, that foundation is having a really clear, shared understanding of what we're even talking about when we use the word brand.
Let's start with a definition from one of the titans of advertising, David Ogilvy. He calls a brand the intangible sum of a product's attributes. Now, that word intangible is key. It's not just the stuff you can touch and see. It's the whole package, the name, the price, sure, but also its history, its reputation. It's the story and the feeling that's been built up in your mind over time.
Ashley Friedline pushes this idea even further, and I want you to really focus on this. He says, a brand is the sum total of how someone perceives an organization. This is so important. A brand isn't what the company says it is, it's what the customer believes it is deep down. And our job as marketers, as brand managers, is to actively shape that perception.
And finally, here's the more formal, textbook definition from the American Marketing Association. They get right to the practical point of it all. A brand's number one job is to identify a product, and crucially, to differentiate it. In a marketplace that is just flooded with options, a strong brand acts like a shortcut, a beacon that helps guide you straight to their product and not the other guys.
Okay, theory is great, but let's make this tangible. Just look at the journey of Airbnb. They started out with a very literal name, Air Bed and Breakfast. Their slogan was, book rooms with locals. Totally functional. But watch what happens. As their vision got bigger, their brand had to evolve with it. They went from travel like a human to belong anywhere. See that shift? They moved from selling a service to selling a feeling, an idea. This is a perfect case study in how a brand grows up.
So, why does all this matter so much? Why are we dedicating our time to this? Well, just look at this number. For most businesses today, about 90% of their total value is intangible. It's not in their factories or their inventory. The real money, the real asset, is the brand itself. A company's worth is almost entirely tied up in the idea of it that lives in our collective minds. That's staggering. Now, if a brand is that ridiculously valuable, we have to have a way to measure it, right? We can't just say, oh, it feels important. And that's exactly where the concept of brand equity comes into play. Think of it as the measurable financial value that a brand name adds to a product.
Here's the best way to think about brand equity. It's like a bank account for your brand. Every single positive experience a customer has, a great product, a helpful customer service call, that's a deposit. Every bad experience, every broken promise, that's a withdrawal. The higher the balance in that account, the more powerful and valuable your brand becomes. It's the sum total of all the goodwill you've earned.
So, how do we make those deposits? How do we strategically build that equity? Well, thankfully, there's a roadmap. This is Keller's customer-based brand equity framework, and it is one of the most important models in all of marketing. Now, I know it looks a little complex, like a pyramid, but the idea behind it is actually quite simple. You build a strong brand step by step, starting from the bottom and working your way up. Keller's model really boils down to building two key things. First, brand awareness. This is the foundation. Super simple. Do people even know you exist? Can they recognize your logo or recall your name? But then, once you have that, you get to brand image.
And this is where the magic really happens. This is the whole web of thoughts, feelings, and associations people have with your brand. Is it cool? Is it reliable? Is it for me? The more unique, strong, and positive those associations are, the more equity you build.
Now, this brings us to one of the most fundamental tensions in all of branding. It's this gap that can exist between what a company wants to project and what the world actually sees. This is the classic battle between brand identity and brand image.
Let's break it down. Think of brand identity as the sender's side. It's strategic. It's the resume the company carefully puts together saying, this is who we are, this is what we stand for. Brand image, on the other hand, is the receiver's side. It's the current reality. It's the brand's reputation out in the wild. And the whole game, the entire goal of a brand manager, is to get those two things to align perfectly.
This little diagram shows you exactly how that works. Over on the left, you've got the tools the company uses to build its identity. The name, the logo, the personality, the ads. Those are the signals they send out into the world. But here's the key. Those signals don't just land in a vacuum. They're filtered through every single person's own unique experiences and biases. And what comes out the other side is the brand image, a personal and sometimes unpredictable interpretation.
So, how do we do it? How do we build a strong identity that will cut through the noise and create the image we actually want? Well, you don't just wing it. You don't just throw things at a wall and hope they stick. You use a strategic blueprint.
And this is it. This is the brand identity planning model. I know, it looks like a lot is going on, but it's an incredibly powerful tool that walks you through building a brand from its very essence outwards. And notice where it all begins, right there in the core, with the single most important question a brand can ever ask itself. Why do we exist?
This core is the brand purpose. It's the soul of the brand. It's its reason for being, beyond just making money. And that purpose can live on a spectrum, from something purely functional all the way to a grand societal mission. And who's our poster child for this? Airbnb. Their purpose isn't to rent rooms. Their purpose is to make people around the world feel like they can belong anywhere. That's a purpose. That's a North Star.
Now for another really cool tool. Just like people, brands need a personality. And one of the best ways to define that is by using brand archetypes. These are basically 12 universal character types that we all instinctively understand. Is your brand a hero, like Adidas, pushing you to be your best? Or maybe it's a magician, like Disney, making dreams come true. Choosing an archetype gives your brand a personality that feels instantly familiar and relatable.
Okay, so we've been focused on building one single powerful brand. But what happens when a company has a whole bunch of them? Think about a company like Procter & Gamble. How on earth do you manage that entire family of brands and make sure they're all working together?
Well, the answer is something called brand architecture. The best way to think of it is as the brand's family tree. It's the official framework that lays out how all the different brands in a company's portfolio relate to each other and to the parent company. A good brand architecture brings clarity and strategy to what could otherwise be total chaos.
Here, take a look at this real-world example from a company called Orizonia. You can see very clearly how they've organized their brands. Some are core to the main business, some are associated, and others are meant to feel totally independent. This isn't random. This is a deliberate strategy that allows them to hit different parts of the market with different messages, all under one corporate roof.
Generally speaking, companies take one of three main approaches here. You've got the branded house, where pretty much everything carries the master brand name. Think Apple. Then there's the complete opposite, the house of brands, where each brand stands alone. That's Procter & Gamble, with Tide, Crest, Pampers. And then there's a middle ground, endorsed brands, like Courtyard by Marriott, where the sub-brand gets a little boost from the parent. Airbnb, for its part, is a classic branded house. Everything revolves around that central idea of belonging.
So, to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with one final thought to take with you. The next time you make a purchase, stop for just a second and ask yourself, what am I really buying here? Am I just buying a pair of shoes, or am I buying into the idea of just do it? Am I just buying a smartphone, or am I buying into a tribe of creativity and innovation? Because I think what you'll find is that most of the time, we aren't just buying things, we're buying stories, we're buying identities. And that is the incredible, enduring power of a great brand.